think that you know what money is when you see a dollar bill and you hold it in your hand, but money is so much more than that. Money is a digitized trust. It's a promise of payment later for value now, and blockchain can help solve that, but that doesn't make blockchain money. So in terms of money, I think of it as moneyness. And there are different things that are more or less money. So cash in paper bills, it has more moneyness than a treasury bill. That has more moneyness than maybe crypto does. But crypto is definitely on the moneyness scale, and a lot of them have more moneyness than others. Money should expand with the usage. The amount of people that uses it, you should have more. So Circles does that because as soon as you qualify and you start generating your own circles, now you're adding to the pace at which the Circle money supply expands. And if users stop using it, then it shrinks. And that's a key aspect of money that normal crypto don't solve for. Regen is this new term that's been coined, and some people think of it as regenerating the planet. So it's got an eco spin to it. I think of it more as regenerating humanity and economies and society. Universal basic income everywhere is my mantra, and the big problem that I wanted to solve in order to fix that is the problem of Sybil attackers. So my biggest passion is to figure out who's a human online. There's such a long list of good projects in crypto, but they're all limited by this problem you mentioned of stigma and of getting money, plus the fact that every single bank in the world is working against us. Not only do we have the Toronto DAO as one of the DAOs, but it's a platform where you can create DAOs as well, and we call that Chain Crew. So chaincrew.xyz is a platform where you can spin up your own little DAO and do whatever you want with it, and you can manage regular money, fiat money, Canadian dollars and US dollars and whatnot. So it's not crypto, but it takes a lot of inspiration from the crypto native DAOs and allows you to start a team, manage money as a team, just like Toronto DAO manages money as a team. And that's also why when I build stuff, it takes a little bit longer. Like other protocols are faster to market, but they do a shittier job. I try and really solve it fundamentally, right? So I want it to be app scoped so that every app sees different things. I want the user to be in control. You decide what you want to share. And you can share fractionally too. You can share the fact that you're over 18 without showing your birth date. Right? So if usually in websites that require you to be over 18 today, you have to scan your entire driver's license or your entire passport, and they get to see everything. They get to see where I live and what my photo's like and whatever, right? All they need to know is the fact that I'm over 18. Right, so we allow sites to ask very narrow questions. Are you over 18? Or are you over 21? Yes or no. So you get a yes or no answer back, but it's a trusted yes or no. It's a decentralized society in crypto and blockchain. You can go in and do whatever you want. There's no one that's going to stop you. We need people to join and to get involved. And I need people that can help out. Reach out if you want to help out, or just start your own project. The more projects I build, the better.
Hello and welcome to episode 9 of This is the New Internet. You just heard from this week's guest, Noak Lindqvist, a consultant turned tech entrepreneur. His focus is all about addressing technical problems that will eliminate the dreaded user friction in Web3 services. We love to complain about how the UX in crypto is very off-putting for newbies, and here we have somebody dedicated to addressing that. From making crypto wallets more seamless, to proof of personhood, to consulting on new ideas that will revamp the creator economy, Noak embodies many of the new internet philosophies that should make us hopeful about this space. Beyond his technical work, he is a passionate contributor to Toronto's crypto events. He's taken on a prominent role in Toronto DAO. He leads our local Green Pill chapter and oversees meetups in Toronto's East Side. This episode is essential for all listeners, but especially those who may not understand how this newest wave of tech fits into our everyday lives. There are some big ideas in here, like universal basic income, and we get into the nitty-gritty of how we can take on governance challenges with technology. New advancements fix old problems, but they create new ones. My conversation with Noak is a candid exploration of this dynamic. Before we get into this week's episode, however, I'd like to thank all the minters of episode 9 with Jerry from Bitcoin Bay. Thanks a ton for your support. Your names are on the screen right now. And to those who keep showing up and supporting this podcast, I want to thank you all personally. This is episode 9, and I'll be shouting out those who've minted half the episodes or more. All of y'all have ENS names, so you've made it easier for me this time. Sorry in advance for the name butchery. Here we go. Pedro Villela, Web3 Ninjas, Rudra, Crypto Badal, Wick3, Frenchie, AISCB, Base Students, Atomatomo, 0x Alden, and K Vinto. Thanks a ton. If you'd like me to have a stab at mangling your name too, mint the episodes over on Pods Media, link in the description. And now, on to episode 9 of Is This the New Internet with Noak Lindqvist.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 9 of Is This the New Internet? I'm here with a very special guest, Noak Lindqvist. Did I get that right?
You got it pretty good. Yeah.
Yes.
Lindqvist.
So here with Noak, and we see the crypto space and just business and development stuff in general in a very similar sort of way. So that's kind of why I vibed with him. We met quite early in my time over in Toronto, but through his meetups with Green Pill, with the more recent one, the beaches, we've been spending a lot more time together, getting a lot more like laid back space to discuss ideas. So that's something you don't normally get in a crypto wider meetup. So this, I hope, is the natural evolution of that, where I can get you one-on-one in a room so we can discuss these ideas and get deep into the weeds. So I'm really looking forward to that. I really want to have you on for a while, and I'm really glad we're finally doing this. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. I've been listening to a lot of other shows, other episodes of yours, and really appreciate what you're doing here.
I cannot wait to add you to the list of esteemed guests that I've had on this podcast. And you're in good company. I think you've absolutely deserved your place among these guests. You're building cool things. You have a bunch of great ideas. You bring so much life experience to this equation. Crypto's full of young whippersnappers coming in to try and upset the apple cart. You're someone who's had a career before crypto. You have your well-formed opinion, and you've found where you think crypto can sort of fit into this bigger picture. So I think I'd love to explore that with you.
That plus the fact that I'm quite contrarian very often. So
and then again, the contrarian part of you, I think, is what probably attracted you to the space in some way, right?
Yeah, I mean, crypto is contrarian to banks and to regular money. So just being in here makes us all contrarian, I suppose.
Yeah. So let's start at the beginning then. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself? You're from Sweden. You moved to Canada. What was that like? And tell us a little bit about your first steps over here and to finding your place in the Toronto scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I grew up in Sweden. English is my second language, so sometimes I stumble still on words. Moved here in 2008, so I had 10 years of corporate experience with a big consultancy, Accenture, in Sweden, and then I transferred to Canada because that's where my wife at the time came from, and we wanted to move back and bring up our kids here. Moving to Canada was not as big of a change as you would think. You know, language is different, currency is different, architecture is different, but largely we're very similar in, like, it's a socialistic society, heavy tax burden, but also a lot of things for free, like we get free hospitals and roads, and so it's very, very similar in that sense. Nature is very similar, open. I love it here just as much as I do back home.
Fantastic. So you we're with the same company over there as over here, right? So I'm sure that kind of helped that transition. But was there a difference in the way of doing business between the two places?
Yeah, in ways that were very hard to perceive in the beginning. But as I spent a couple of years here, I realized that there's definitely ways of doing business that are different. It's more American here in that sense. We're more collaborative, I suppose, in Sweden, where we truly, genuinely help out and help each other. And I don't want to call it like American backstabbing here, but there's definitely more competition here. Myself, my career before your career. So that was something that was interesting to pick up on, and I had it was hard for me to get around that as well. So maybe they say that Swedes make great middle manager, but not top managers. And I guess that's where I got caught as well. I never made it up to the very upper echelons of my company. So I got out of there and I started something where I can be my own boss instead.
Very cool. Very cool. So you mentioned that you're a contrarian, you're attracted to contrarian ideas, and crypto is full of these, ideas that go against the grain of what people think society should be. So could you tell me a little about your life before crypto, how you first perceived crypto, and then was there anything that made you realize, oh, wait, I like this, I want to be involved a little bit more?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm 15 years in Canada with management consulting and 10 years in Sweden. So I've got 23, 24 years actively as a corporate consultant, mostly working for Fortune 500s and making them more efficient, making them better, helping them with the biggest challenges that they had. My specialty was supply chain and operations management and those kind of things. And in Sweden, I did mostly automotive type companies. And then when I came here, it's been mostly financial service institutions, banks. So we did a couple of training courses in crypto. That's how I got to hear about it first, because we had to be prepared to do consulting in crypto. And one of the case studies that I got really interested in was fair trade coffee, where colleagues of mine had worked on tracking the origins of coffee and making sure that the growers got paid what they ought to be paid, and that the coffee that is served in your cup is actually organic. Another one where I got to speak very closely with the guys that built the project was a steel co in India, where they tracked workers, freelancers in a factory, and these steel co's are they're like towns in and of themselves, people moving around, and a lot of work being done and supposedly being paid for, but didn't always get paid for because it was not tracked properly, because it wasn't signed off properly, and a lot of freelancers or contractors, I should call them, didn't get paid. So they implemented a crypto just for the steel co itself, and the freelancers, the contractors, were empowered to get signatures by the people that authorized it, and then take that signature to the payment office and actually get paid. So there was a couple of different, very innovative use cases for crypto, and very far from what most people think of, pump and dumps and trading and whatnot.
Yeah. So in the consultancy space, people love talking about, we love blockchain, we don't love crypto. So I'm sure you must have heard that phrase a lot. Like, how did you grapple with that understanding of this idea?
Yeah, so after I got out of Accenture and I started getting down the rabbit hole, and I got really deep down the rabbit hole of specifically what is money. Started doing a lot of research and thinking about what is money, and that's actually a harder problem to solve than most people understand. Blockchain is very different from crypto. Blockchain you can use for so many different things. Blockchain is like an open source database. And whenever someone builds a new app, they don't go boasting about which database provider they're using. It's just table stakes, right? But crypto, when people mention crypto, they think that, this is a new type of money specifically. And that's just one application of blockchain. And what is new money? That's something that is not easy to understand either. You think that, you know what money is when you see a dollar bill and you hold it in your hand, but money is so much more than that. Money is a digitized trust. It's a promise of payment later for value now. And blockchain can help solve that, but that doesn't make blockchain money. Before blockchain becomes a crypto, that's a big step. And then before crypto becomes money, that's even bigger. Like, people think that Bitcoin is money, but in my opinion, 100% not. Bitcoin is not money. It might be an investment. It's definitely investment, right? It's a digital gold kind of thing, but it's not a digital dollar. What makes a digital dollar is way bigger than what Bitcoin is, or what Bitcoin ever could solve for, because Bitcoin has other challenges. Like, it can only do so many transactions per second, for example. And money, you have to be able to pay before the shopkeep gets tired of waiting the payments.
I think Bitcoin should be criticized, challenged. Like, nothing's perfect.
No.
Bitcoin was the first iteration of this, right? And I think we need to critically analyze what is doing well, what is not doing well, so we can find something that we can, put in place that will be more useful, I hope.
Yeah.
One of my previous guest, Matt Black, he said Bitcoin should be more than a pet rock that you just buy and sell. Like, can we build financial services around this? And it's something he's been looking to do for quite a while. And he's not alone in that, because people see that this is a brilliant store of value. But money is more than just a store of value. So how can we make this align more with our expectations of
Yeah. And I'm not even sure that it is a brilliant store of value yet. It may turn out to be that, but before it becomes a brilliant store of value, you have to have more banks that adopt it, or governments that adopt it. We have one for now, like El Salvador, and they're getting heavily penalized for supporting it as an investment, and they're getting thrown out of the the European. No, what's it called?
IMF.
IMF, yeah. So if a country can't say that we like Bitcoin, and therefore the legal system won't defend it, the police won't seize it, the judges won't arbitrate against it or for it, well, can we really say that it's an investment then? Right.
It needs to be a more limited implementation, right, of Bitcoin becoming a legal tender. And El Salvador was smaller, but so being smaller, you're more susceptible to the changing tides of an economy, wider economy. Right? So do you think there may be a perfect size of country that should try to adopt this to prove that it can be done?
I think any country that adopts it would be awesome. And if like 5 small countries adopt it, that'd be amazing. If one big country or medium-sized country adopts it and gets away with it and gets support from IMF that it's okay to do it, that'd be amazing for Bitcoin. And then maybe it gets closer to becoming a real investment. But for now, it's highly speculative, right? You take a lot of risk by buying some Bitcoin, because one day Satoshi wallet might start moving, and that day value is just going to tank.
So we mentioned that if the Bitcoin encryption gets cracked, Satoshi's coins are the first that are going to move. So that's like our early warning system in some way to see the system fall. And that's so much of a house of cards on which to build lasting economic value, right?
I'm less concerned about cracking the algos that protect everything, essentially. So we call it crypto because it's cryptographically secured, but not only crypto is cryptographically secured, every password that you own is cryptographically secured, right? So if we had a quantum computer that starts cracking cryptos or algos, not just crypto is going to go away. There's a lot more that's going to go away, right?
Yeah.
Every password that you ever had, all the banks, that's where they'll go before they go to Bitcoin. I'm more concerned with like, who is this Satoshi? Is it a person or is it a government entity? And if it's a government entity, or if it's someone that's alive, or if Satoshi was a person but gave the keys to someone else before he passed, there's so many different scenarios under which his wallet can start moving. And right now the valuation is built on an assumption that his wallet's never going to start moving, which is like half the value. It's like in normal terminology, that would be like the supply of gold got doubled today, right? Gold prices would tank, right? And then people would start worrying, well, if that could happen, is it going to quadruple the next day, right? So all the assumptions fly out.
So what has crypto proved that can be done well? Could you've expressed a lot of skepticism. So yeah, could we go through your top 2 things that crypto has unequivocally proven that we can do or we should be doing?
So we can move money. Like there are so many cryptos that are money-like. So there's people like to think black and white or ones and zeros, but the world is grayscale and color scaled. So in terms of money, I think of it as moneyness. And there are different things that are more or less money. So cash in paper bills has more moneyness than a treasury bill. That has more moneyness than maybe crypto does. But crypto is definitely on the moneyness scale, and a lot of them have more moneyness than others. So Ethereum has more moneyness than Bitcoin, right? Solana might have more moneyness than Ethereum. So we can definitely think of crypto as being money in a way, and it's proven that. But then there's all the other stuff that's blockchain, not crypto. Blockchain would be awesome to solve the ticketing problem, for example. And we've already seen that we can do that. We can issue tickets, and we can trade tickets. Like today, when you buy a ticket on Ticketmaster, you're not allowed to sell it without the permission and approval of Ticketmaster and using their technology. If you try and sell a Ticketmaster ticket on StubHub, you're gonna experience issues, right? But blockchain can definitely solve all of that, and you can issue your own tickets, and you can sell them and trade them and move them, and it's unstoppable. And we can do it cheap and fast and easy.
But also, I'm not defending Ticketmaster or anything, but what if we had if it was all on a blockchain, the way scalpers have their sniping bots, right? That can really make the most of someone fat fingering an NFT listing, right? If we have that on an already skyrocketing value of a ticketing ecosystem, could this make existing problems a little worse without these sort of safeguards that a Ticketmaster would put in to prevent resales and stuff like that, or set a 10 purchase limit per credit card? Could be undoing some of the few steps towards progress that we would make.
So there's always a bit of anarchy that happens when change comes in, right? So if you think of the gold rush, people might glorify that, but the people that were in the gold rush, discovering all these new deposits of gold, it was anarchy and mayhem. And if you had gold in your pocket, chances of you getting killed and shot was high, right? So that doesn't make gold bad. It doesn't make change bad, but there are some things that are going to break while discovering new things. And that's what's happening. We're seeing a lot of that in crypto right now with scams. Like 99% of cryptos out there are scams in some way, right? There are a few good ones, gold-looking ones, and we should really take care of those, and we should go after those. And we shouldn't get scared by the fact that there are scams, but we should be cautious about them. And I think that's what's going to happen with tickets as well. Like if we build a new, better ticketing system, there's going to be more scalpers in the beginning because, that's what scalpers do. But we would build a better system that eventually could get rid of scalpers altogether. The scalpers exist because there is a discrepancy in the pricing. And if we put out tickets that have a better pricing mechanism, price discovery, for example, that would just eliminate scalpers altogether.
Yeah, the growing pains are a part of it, of course.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to navigate that.
Yeah, that was a long-winded answer, but...
No, but that was exactly it. So I'd like to talk to you about your DAO participation. So we can go to the 101 of DAOs, I think, to begin with. So could you tell my audience a little bit about what problems are DAOs solving and how are they solving these problems?
Right. DAOs are decentralized autonomous organizations. And so if we unpack that, so decentralized means that there is no central entity that gives you the permission or can stop you from creating a DAO. If you want to create it, just go ahead and create it. There might be a UX, UI, a front end, like the app that you use to access the app. The DAO might be a little bit a pain point, but the underlying DAO is on a blockchain that is unstoppable and permissionless. So even if the app breaks, you can still go back and access your DAO through code, right, or build another app. So that's decentralized. Autonomous means that it's you and yours, and you get to decide exactly and shape it the way that you want to shape it. And you can have a DAO for coffee growers or for kayak lovers or cat lovers. You could have a DAO that has $5 in the treasury, or you could have a DAO with $5 million in the treasury, and it's equally secure and equally, permissionless. So decentralized autonomous organizations, and that's all being enabled on blockchain rails, right? So that's why, I work in blockchain. I don't work in crypto, because DAOs are definitely a blockchain thing, and we call it Web3, not Web2. So Web 1 was static internet pages, yellow pages on the internet, and the original. I had a homepage that was my homepage. And I update it once a year, maybe, with a new picture. Web 2 is like Facebook and Amazon and Netflix. So it's way more dynamic content, and it moves and it changes and wiggles, and it's customized to you. But it still doesn't have money. Web 3 is Web 2 plus money. And it's not the way that people think of regular, we call it fiat currency, right? It's not like dollars and cents. That's government controlled. It's your own currency. And I usually say that, our kids understand this better than what we do. So my kids play Roblox, and inside of Roblox, there's a currency called Robux. And they're asking me, can I buy some Robux so that I can use my Robux to buy a new outfit for my character, or a new sword, or like, so it's a native currency in the game, and it's only working in that game and nowhere else, right? You can't take your Robux outside. Crypto's kind of like that, but it's, the game currency is centralized. So someone that's a game developer can add another zero and just make more money if they wanted to. In crypto, you can't do that. Whatever you say is going to be the max cap will be that max cap. The other thing is an in-game currency only applies in one game, but crypto you can take from a game to another game that also supports it. So if 2 or 5 game developers get together and say, we're going to have one currency between our 5 games, you could easily move your crypto between the games, and one developer can't change and screw up for another developer. One game can't screw it up for another game, right? So that's how crypto is a little bit different from in-game currency, but it's very similar to it. That's what DAOs do as well. They have their own currency. You can create your own currency and manage that inside of your DAO very easily, or you could take an existing currency. If you don't want to make a new one, you could take an existing one, like a Solana or Ethereum or Tether. Just get one, buy it, and use it inside of your DAO.
So what would a typical participant's day, for example, in a DAO, or a participation cycle for an individual look like? Like, what sort of activities does one engage in when participating in a DAO?
So another way of describing DAOs is Twitter space with money, or a Facebook group with money, and whatever you want to do with your group, you can do, but it's heavily centered around voting. So make proposals and vote on those proposals, and then a proposal could be attached to money somehow. Like I could say that if we have a treasury in our DAO of $1,000, and I've got expenses for $100, I can make a proposal to pay my expenses for $100, and if 51% of the members say yes, you should get reimbursed for your expenses, then they will vote yes onto my proposal, and then the $100 will be released from the DAO treasury to me. So voting, making proposals and voting is imperative in DAOs. But then it could be anything else. It can be just discussions, and it could be creating stuff, and whatever you want to do. I don't know. Imagination is your limit.
Yeah, that flexibility of, participants from all over the world, nothing really in common except a desire to be a part of this DAO.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's needed.
Yeah.
And
you have some value that you share.
mm-hmm.
You're a cat lover and you want to start a new breed of cats, get together with other people that want to start the same new breed of cats. It can go wild and crazy. Or you want to develop a new game, just do it, right? Create a DAO for that. Or
So your participation in DAOs has been quite wide. So what do you have a list of ideas that you think makes a good DAO, a DAO that's probably going to stand the test of time, a DAO that's going to get real world effects in place or real results in place? Is there something that you've seen that sets those DAOs apart from other DAOs?
So you need to add more functionality. You can't just be voting, and it can't just be money, which is where most DAOs just fall short and stop. They stop at, okay, we've got money and we vote on who's going to get paid. And it gets kind of boring. So you have to have more. So I think that you need to add functionality, like real world functionality, like ticketing. Like if we were a group that wanted to get together and organize an event, and we wanted to be able to sell tickets and get money for those tickets so that we could generate more money into our treasury, you got to be able to sell tickets on your DAO, right? If you want to charge membership fees, you should be able to do that. If you want to start a GoFundMe campaign, you should be able to do that. So a DAO platform has to have more than just managing money, and there needs to be like an immersive discussion forum type functionality as well, and all the things that you can do AI powered on top of that. Curate the discussion and make it better. Curate the website and make it better. So that's another thing. Like a DAO should have. You should be able to click and make a website for your DAO, and then, make it beautiful, and that should be easy, right? And then if you want to make it even more beautiful, then you should be able to hire someone to help you with that website curation, right? And that the DAO should have that kind of hiring people functionality as well. And some DAOs do have that. They can create what's called a bounty, which is like a paid to do. So we want to have something done, like make a website or something else. And we create a bounty, we put money into that bounty, and then someone does it, and you're approved on, you can go ahead and do it, and then you did it, and we approve that it was good quality, and then you get paid, right? So that needs to be enabled as well. But most importantly, there has to be good UX, user experience, and what would you call that? Website design, good design around the whole experience.
There was a sense of purpose sort of bringing people in a DAO together beyond just the money, beyond just the voting. And you're over here in Toronto, and you've collaborated with a bunch of folks who host some great events called Toronto DAO.
Yeah, so Toronto DAO is an awesome little organization, and it's evolved recently into becoming an event organizer, quite formidable. So we bring in beatboxers and comedians and magicians. So the events are all but boring, but we also talk about big ideas, and local projects get a chance to present themselves. And so Toronto DAO is an example of a DAO. might not be using all of those mechanisms that I talked about, open treasury and those things. We should probably evolve into that. But one thing that we have in common is the vision of making Toronto a better place for entrepreneurs, like a Silicon Valley of Canada, if you will. And that's kind of the vision that's driving us. And I remember back on one of the founders meetings, over a year ago, we talked about this idea of a DAO as well. And wouldn't it be great if you could start just spin up a new DAO for, to arrange a street party, like a street DAO for your street, or you wanted to clean up a park, right? So you start a park DAO. And that's why we started building the membership app as well. So that's evolved a little bit beyond the membership app. So I started building this, and you can go to tdao.to. Actually, it's members.tdao.to, and you can become a member of the Toronto DAO. And all that you have to do, a really innovative little feature that we built, is you have to prove that you're Torontonian first. And it's a 2 out of 3 kind of proof. So the 3 different ways you can do it, and 2 have to be true. And what you do is you kind of register your phone number, and we have a list of area codes that are approved, and we know that they are Toronto, and it's casting a wide net. So even if you're down in Hamilton or whatnot, you'll still be approved. And then we check your geolocation as well, and you have to say that you live in Toronto. And 2 out of 3 has to be true. And then you can mint your membership, and the membership is an NFT. In technical terms, it's a non-fungible token, which just means that it's a crypto that's not money. It's a crypto that has more similarities to a ticket than it does with money. So we mint your membership as an NFT, and then now you're a member of Toronto DAO. That whole vision I talked about spinning up a street DAO or a park DAO or whatever, that's also included in the app now. So not only do we have the Toronto DAO as one of the DAOs, but it's a platform where you can create DAOs as well. And we call that Chain Crew. So chaincrew.xyz is a platform where you can spin up your own little DAO and do whatever you want with it. And you can manage regular money, fiat money, Canadian dollars and US dollars and whatnot. So it's not crypto, but it takes a lot of inspiration from the crypto native DAOs and allows you to start a team, manage money as a team, just like Toronto DAO manages money as a team.
Crypto is fairly lonely. There aren't too many of us, right? So we need all the help that we can get to meet more like-minded people.
And you know what? It's lonely for a couple of reasons. So, A, we're founders, and founders' life is lonely to start out with before you build a team. B, we're working in, we get this stigma of crypto. So as soon as people mention crypto, they're like, oh, I don't believe in that. I'll stay away, right? And C, the UX, the user experience of tools in crypto is freaking horrendous, right? You can't go onto any platform, an NFT marketplace or whatever, and make it work before you first go to like something called MetaMask and create an account. And then you have to connect. Before you can even connect it, you have to save your seed phrase, which is like, people don't even understand, why would I do this? And they do it wrong, and then they get hacked. And then you have to connect your MetaMask to blah, 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 right? So the user experience is absolutely horrendous. And that's one of my driving forces, is make sites where the user experience is better. So when you go onto Chain Crew, for example, like we had to solve this problem of what is called an embedded wallet, which is just another way of saying that we'll give you a crypto account for free, and you don't have to go elsewhere. You don't have to go to MetaMask or Rainbow Kit or whatever to get an account. We just make one for you, and we make it in a very, very secure way. It's secured by your biometrics on your phone, so you have to sign, face scan or fingerprint, whatever your phone does, right? And we use that as the hash to secure the keys, so that no one else can steal your keys. So it's a complicated thing to solve for, but we solved it, and now you can create your account just by clicking a button. In this case, it's like 2 steps or 3 steps maybe, but you can do that, and it's a lot easier, a lot better. that's one of the key stigmas of crypto is the user experience is terrible. We gotta improve it.
We've been in the space for a while, and having that crypto just on hand, different wallets, different chains, we've kind of already gone through those growing pains of just establishing ourselves there. But for a new person coming in, it's just marginally easier right now than it was just a few years ago. So we still have everything left to do when it comes to.
There's so much left to do. We're so early, so early. Like,
And speaking of being early, like, people talk about crypto's lack of use case and immediate benefits being given to people. But I found that crypto is just a tool. It's just money. It's how you use these tools. And a sector where these tools are being used an increasing amount that we vibe a lot on is this regenerative life, crypto for good. How can we mobilize programmable money towards something that isn't purely speculative? It isn't purely just enriching oneself. It isn't just about the money, right? We're using these blockchain-based services to hopefully put something in place. So could you tell me a little bit about your philosophy in this? What's driving you to get involved in this regen space? You lead Green Pill Toronto. So could you tell us a little bit about that? What's the guiding philosophy keeping you involved in this? Because no one really is using these tools for this. So what's driving you?
So regen is this new term that's been coined, and some people think of it as regenerating the planet. So it's got an eco spin to it. I think of it more as regenerating humanity and economies and society. So I'm very much a part of the regen movement. Actually, I should step back a little bit and talk about, after I left my corporate job, I told myself that, I've been working for 20 plus years, making rich people richer. And I don't really have anything to show for it because as a consultant, you never get to put your name on anything. It's always helping someone else improve their brand. So I wanted to, instead of making rich people richer and Fortune 500 companies richer and stronger, I wanted to create something where the little people could thrive and maybe not get rich, but at least thrive, right? So I got into something called universal basic income, which I think is going to save humanity. I know a lot of people might be against that, but they're usually thinking that, I'm going to get $10,000 a month and, I don't have to work again. That's not the UBI, the universal basic income that I'm envisioning. I'm envisioning a multitude of small streams of money that could be like $1 a day, maybe enough to buy you a burger, but not to make you rich. It's going to be hopefully something that we can rely on to not starve or freeze. But the beauty of UBI is that it allows you to still keep working and to prosper and make yourself rich, but while still keeping the universal basic income, right? So it's money for everyone in equal amounts for everyone, rich or poor, you still get it. And it's not one centralized thing that you rely on, but it's like thousands of different things that you could sign up for and be a part of and be a member of. And if you're a member of it, then you get a little bit of payback. So it's more like a citizen salary for being a citizen of these network states. Network states are also a new term that's being pushed, and I really vibe with that. Someone wants to create a new network state with a particular focus, with a particular purpose. Anyone else that vibes with the same thing, you want to be part of that network. And if you're part of it, then you get a citizen salary from that network state. New concepts, complicated concepts, but in reality, it might just be as simple as, be on a platform, play a game, and then get paid for playing that game. Or be in plant some trees, be in a tree planting society, and get paid for planting trees. It doesn't have to be complicated at all. So as I got out of corporate life, I started doing some research on UBI, and I even started writing a book on it or whatever. That never went anywhere. But I started figuring out, what are the good players, and I got a sense for that. And one of the best ones was Good Dollar. So I started talking to people from Proof of Humanity, which was one of the very, very first ones. Good Dollar was a fast follower, and they had an amazing team. And I started talking to them, and turns out that I got a job with them. So I worked with them for a bit and learned about what UBI is and how to solve for it. Our visions were a little bit different. They wanted to be the best UBI company, and still do. And they are still one of the really great ones. But my vision was that about these 1,000 different streams of UBI, right? Every project should have a way of paying back to society. Every blockchain should have a UBI. And why don't they? And it turns out that the biggest challenge isn't finding money or finding people to pay money to. The biggest challenge of UBI is to figure out who's a human being online. So we call that a Sybil attack problem. A Sybil attack is when someone creates more than one account to get more than what they should be getting. And as soon as you start giving out money for free online, the Sybil attacks are everywhere. Because there are so many good developers out there, and a developer can spin up 5,000 accounts with a push of a button, and they will, and they do. So that's the biggest problem, is to figure out who's human online. We don't need to necessarily know exactly who you are, but we need to know that you're a human being and you're not a bot. And you know why it's called Sybil? A Sybil attack?
No, what do you
So Sybil was the first person that was diagnosed with a multiple personality disorder.
Oh.
So if you have multiple personality online, you're called a Sybil attacker. And sometimes it's okay. I have 5 different Twitter accounts, and that's okay, because I don't portray myself as being a person in every one of them. Some of them are corporate accounts or project accounts, and that's fine. So some people might know what Twitter Blue is. Twitter Blue was a check mark that you used to be able to get before Elon bought it. They try to solve for who's a human on Twitter. And if you're a human, verified human, you got a blue check mark. And then they found out that it's really hard to solve that, so they stopped doing it. And then Elon started to reinstate it by paying $7 a month or whatever. And I think it might be more now. You got the check mark. So now it means that you are someone that can pay. But you know what? Bots can pay too. Some bots have money. So that's not a good proof of being human. Anyways, long story short, universal basic income everywhere is my mantra. And the big problem that I wanted to solve in order to fix that is the problem of Sybil attackers. So my biggest passion is to figure out who's a human online. That's a long answer to your question on regen.
No, but that's a good answer, because I think you've opened up a few other tracks that I'd like to explore a little bit as well. But first, I want to exhaustively look at UBI, because I think it's a really interesting. I am a big believer in it as well. I think as automation gets bigger, as the ability to offsource menial tasks to a computer get bigger, a lot of people earn a living doing what people perceive as a menial task or something that's small. But this is an economy. We're all part of an economy. The money just needs to keep flowing, right? So that's what I would like to get your thoughts on, because programmable money, people getting paid as for existing simply because maybe the economy does not reward work that they're doing to give them money that they would need to exist. Is there something about the programmability of money, like adding an expiration date, or forcing certain money flows? Like, okay, we can give you UBI, they can only be spent on basics or essentials. What does this mean for the actual implementation or something? Because I know a lot of people are naysayers in the sense that, oh, you have to earn what you get, or you can only spend this in a certain way. what do these restrictions of the ability to, predetermine money flows?
Yeah.
Do you think, is this good? Is this bad? Where does the nuance and the inspiration in this balance lie?
These are going to be long answers, Maya. That is so much into one question.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all
carried away with that, but
it's all good. Programmable money, yes. Crypto as programmable money. You can definitely do a lot of interesting creative stuff with it. You can restrict usage. You can make it expire. Whatever you want. Like crypto is just little snippets of code or big snippets of code, and you can make them really complicated. Which is why you should not ever buy into crypto without doing real research first, or at least having a lot of other people saying that they've done the research and they approve of it. It should be open sourced, should be open code, so that you can look into what does the code really do. Anyways, yeah, so what can we do? I don't believe that it should be stoppable. I don't believe that it should be limited to only a certain amount of people, other than very basic criteria. So that's why it's called basic income, and universal, because it should be available universally to everyone, and it should be basic in that it's a small amount. And it shouldn't be like the criteria for getting it should be very clear and very basic, and a small hurdle. Getting paid for playing a game, it shouldn't be like if you have to get a certain score before you get paid, then it's no longer a UBI. Just the fact that you're playing it and you get paid for it, now it's UBI, that kind of thing, right? But there are other really cool implementations, and one of my favorite ones is called Circles. Circles, you get paid for just existing and checking back in every so often, and they have to have the check-in. So that's one of the basic criteria. So you have to check in. I think once a month, and that's like to check that you're still alive, because we don't know that online that you're still alive. So that's like a dead man's grip. But other than that, and you have to trust someone else. You have to show that you trust someone else. And Circles is interesting because it expires. So the new version, like the original version didn't expire, but the new one does. And it expires slowly. So in the beginning, you get one circle, which is the currency, every hour. So you get 24 per day. And you'll continue to get 24 per day. But if you hold more than a certain amount, you can never get above, because it continues to expire. So it's like a logarithmic mathematical curve behind it. And that's really cool, because a major problem with new money, if you want to make new money, is that you can't make too much of it. And just by having it continually regenerate into your wallet once every hour, and then expiring it at a certain volume, makes it such that we can never have more than a set amount of circles. There can never be more than 8 billion multiplied by 24 multiplied by I don't know if the half-life might be a year, right? So do that math, and that's how many there could ever be. The other thing that it solves for is that Bitcoin does not solve for, and many of the others that make them not money or less moneyness, is that money should expand with the usage. The amount of people that uses it, you should have more. So Circles does that, because as soon as you qualify and you start generating your own circles, now you're adding to the pace at which the circle money supply expands. And if users stop using it, then it shrinks. And that's a key aspect of money that normal crypto don't solve for.
Because crypto always tends to concentrate, right? And
yeah,
it does a measure to prevent that.
Yes. And that's what you have to, these innovative concepts you have to put in if you want crypto to really become money. And so Bitcoin is capped at $21 million. 21 million Bitcoin cannot ever be more than that. And because Bitcoin was capped, every other crypto since then has also had a cap of some sort. And many of them are in billions or trillions but there's always a cap. And that's not good. That's not the definition of money. Money should expand and contract with the amount of people that use it. And then there are other cryptos that are uncapped. They're limitless. So you can make as much as you want, or someone can make as much as they want. And that's also not good. So finding that balance between capped and uncapped is a hard one.
So I want to ask you about a very key, probably obstacle that anything in crypto with the regen life needs to get over. And that's the baggage that crypto sort of brings, right? When people hear, oh yeah, I'm building this thing for a social good, everyone's like, oh, tell me more. It's built on crypto. You get significant drop off after that. So have you thought of how we can overcome this baggage? Have you seen any implementations of people having successfully overcome this baggage?
I think going back to like crypto's a primitive, blockchain's a primitive, and that should be, we need to make it so boring and so invisible that you can compare it to a database. Like it doesn't matter if you're using an Oracle or a Microsoft database, no one cares. So that's where we need to get crypto as well. It should be so boring that no one cares. They just know that, oh, it's based on blockchain. That makes it very reliable and trustworthy. But I don't care which one. I don't know more about it than that. Kind of like internet, no one cares about the specifications of TCP/IP, but man, it's there and it's trustworthy, right? So we got to get there. So the UX is definitely one. And then a big challenge is, how do we get money? Because there's so many projects that are doing so much good in the blockchain world. Carbon capture, regenerating forests, planting mangrove trees. There's such a long list of good projects in crypto, but they're all limited by this problem you mentioned of stigma and of getting money. Plus the fact that every single bank in the world is working against us. They actively stop us from using bank services as soon as they get wind of the fact that it's a crypto project. You get cut off, right? I've gotten cut off from some of my projects. Try to use banking services. They figured out there is crypto. Well, no more. Can't use credit cards, can't pay, can't get access to money. You make your own money. Okay, well, sure, let's make our own money then. But somehow we need to get connected in. And that challenge is a real challenge and a big challenge for regenerative projects. So we should talk about Gitcoin. Mm-hmm. Gitcoin is a funding mechanism, and it's started by Kevin Iwaki and a lot of other people. It's an amazing, huge open source projects for just capital allocation, and it started with just capital allocation towards good projects, building good things on the Ethereum blockchain, and then they branched out, and then it became all of the Ethereum compatible blockchains. And then it branched out to become all open source projects. And then recently it's branched out they started as quadratic funding, which is a really innovative way of allocating capital. So if you give $100 to one project, they would match it, right? And if you gave $1,000, it would be worth more, but it wouldn't be worth a ton more. You know what would be worth a ton more? Would be if you have 100 people that gave $1 each. So because that's a stronger signal of support from the community. So they're using that signal, and that's what quadratic funding does. It counts the number of people that give if they are unique and not Sybil attackers. So they had to solve the Sybil attack problem as well, just like I'm trying to. And then they count the number of people, and the more people you have, even if it's a small donation, matters more in terms of how much they match. So they built all of that, massive infrastructure, really good. And then they started raising money and finding money to match donations. So it's a donation matching protocol for projects that do good. And now recently they've branched out. So now they don't only do quadratic funding, they do retroactive funding, and they do gated funding. They do all kinds of different funding mechanisms. So that's a big part of the stigma is, we can't do as much as we want because we don't have money. And VC fundraising might be an avenue, but it would be better if we didn't have to rely on VCs. It'd be better if we could generate our own money inside of these projects. And that's hard because banks don't allow us.
But I did want to touch on the point, like, how can we measure success? of regen initiatives? And how would you like success to be measured?
That's something that we're struggling with a lot. And there's so many people that are very good at expressing what they want to do and create beautiful PowerPoint decks or beautiful websites to get grants, because most of what's being done in the regen space is grant funded from blockchain foundations, because they happen to have a ton of money and they want to use their chain. So they give you money, give you grants if you work on their chain. But anyway, so lots of people that are good at expressing beautiful ideas, but short on actually making that happen. So what does that mean? Well, we have to start measuring impact, and we should give money based on what impact you actually achieve rather than what you promise. So there might be a little bit upfront funding for sure, because you have to get something to get started, but we should measure more impact. And there are a lot of different protocols that are trying to achieve that. One is Hypersearch, which is also funded by Gitcoin, and it's in that space. That's about making a market for impact and for people to purchase impact after the fact, which is a novel idea. There's Karma Gap, which is new. Karma Gap is a website where you describe what you did and you focus on what impact you achieved, and then that is being connected into Gitcoin, so that the future round, if you get a little bit of money, you do something, you describe it in Karma Gap, and then Gitcoiners in the next round can see what you did because it's available on Karma Gap. And we actually have a great little initiative here in Toronto as well called MetaFund We, which you guys should check out. MetaFund We, which is also trying to certify impact that you have in the real world and then funnel money towards impactful projects. Their first project that they funded was Peel Region Crime Stoppers. And they also have an art flair to it to funnel money to artists that create good art.
We have so many discussions in this space, but I'm glad you mentioned names of companies that you think are doing a commendable job. Anyone else you'd like to add to that list? So if we need to prove to people that crypto X regen is viable, do you have any more success stories that you think prove this or somewhat prove this?
So I found that it was very lonely. We talked about that before. Like it's lonely to build in this space, and I reached out to Green Pill Network. I listened a lot to the Green Pill podcast, which is one of the best ones if you want to learn about blockchain and in general. And they started something called the Green Pill Network, which is a node of cities. And I wanted to have one in Toronto. So I told them I want to create one in Toronto. And it turns out that, there was none. So I just went ahead and created it. So I'm running the Green Pill Toronto network, which is just a group of people that are building Web3 for good, blockchain for good. And we just come together once a week in a Monday Google Hangout call, and we talk about big ideas, a little bit of philosophy, what's going on in the space, what grants can you apply to, and what challenges do you have in your project that we can help out with? Do you need more people? That stuff there. So I do have a number of projects that are in the Green Pill network that we can mention. MetaFund We is one that's doing awesome work. Sacred Protocol, I think you had Lisa on in one of the previous episodes. Sacred is doing tipping. So if you want to tip someone else on any network, on Twitter or Forecaster or wherever, you can tip their content. So if they put out a tweet or a cast or something and you liked it, it's good quality, you can tip it. And you can send crypto to that content, and the producer of that content, so the tweeter or the person that wrote it, would then be paid. So that's a really good one. It's good for marketing too. Like if you're a company that have a marketing budget and you want to promote anyone to write good things about your company on Twitter, you can tell them that, if you just write something good, we will pay you. We'll tip you for writing it, right? So it's without signing up. You don't have to sign up. Like there are questing platforms where you could do this today, but then everyone has to first sign up onto the Quest platform and then do the good thing, and then go back to the Quest platform and see if they got it. So we're sort of shortcutting that whole thing and just saying, write good stuff and we'll find it and we'll tip you. So that's one. We have a Delir that's building Smart Trust, which is a freelancer platform. That's going to be a way for freelancers and their buyers to agree on a payment upfront. Smart Trust is going to help them write the contract on what it is. And then the buyer puts money into the contract. The freelancer does the thing. And then they agree that it was a good quality deliverable. The money gets released to the freelancer. So it's like a competitor to escrow.com. But much more than that, because it helps writing the contract and it helps evaluating that it was good quality. And if there's a dispute, then there's an AI that is going to arbitrate a little bit. And if that works, that's awesome. If it doesn't, then the AI will say, hey, well, you can't seem to agree. Let's get a lawyer, a third party. That's going to cost you a little bit of money. So we'll take part of that escrow and pay to the lawyer. And then the lawyer will arbitrate, be plugged into the discussion, will arbitrate, and we'll say, okay, 70% to the freelancer, 20% to the buyer, back to the buyer because it wasn't good quality or something, whatever, right? And then 10% to the lawyer. The lawyer doesn't pay themselves, but the Smart Trust platform does. So that's one. What else do we have? We have so many different good ones. Commune.ai. We have Sal here in Toronto that builds decentralized, free for all AI, also powered by crypto. Which other ones? Tell me some, then I'll talk about them. I forget.
I'm just thinking of the list. There's Green Pill London that are going to be on there as well.
London, yeah. So we are 3 now. I think we might be the country in the world that has most Green Pill nodes. So it started in Ottawa with Lana. Lana started Green Pill Ottawa. She focuses on tree planting. In Toronto, we focus more, or I focus more on regenerative economics. So we're doing this Toronto coin, which we should talk about. Mm-hmm. And then London, Ontario is the third one that just came on, and they're doing amazing work as well. So absolutely, there are 3 Green Pills.
So I'll share the Green Pill website in here because there's a lot of interesting things to check out there. Mm-hmm. You might find a familiar podcast on that list too. But yeah, like I think people get caught up on crypto prices all the time and like seeing actual things being put in place. And with this social regenerative angle to things, I think there's a lot of room for optimism in the space that, if we're just blinkered by the price, you kind of lose sight of that. So I hope you get put down a fairly uplifting rabbit hole with hearing all these names. And to the next one that you mentioned, though, I'd love to hear about T-Coin. I was actually behind the camera on that day when we were, what's it called? We had an event at Casa Mezcal in downtown Toronto called Whale Pool, organized by Bitcoin Bay. Jerry from my last episode, they were behind this. And Kaz, my guest today, was one of the esteemed presenters on that day to compete for a prize fund where the guests in attendance, one of them was Lisanne as well. Look at us, like, bringing the crew back together. So you put your ideas in front of the judges. There was a live audience. You had to present, and Kaz is one of them. And he presented a pretty cool idea called T-Coin. So would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, would I ever? One of my passion projects. I don't think that I'll get rich from this one, but I don't intend to. So Whale Pool was an interesting idea. Obviously, it takes its name from Shark Tank, and it's very similar in concept to Shark Tank. But in crypto, if you have a big bag, you own a lot of crypto, you're called a whale. So this was the whale pool, and I think there were 5 presenters. We were 1 out of 2 that got a whale. So we got a little bit of investment to start building the T-coin, which is Toronto coin. And we talked about moneyness before and what makes a good money. It's got to be liquid. It's got to flow freely. It's got to be available. One thing that I think makes a good money is that it's pegged to something that is stable in value. And everyone thinks of Canada, Canadian dollar, or US dollar, whichever fiat you subscribe to, as the most stable thing that there is. But it's not true. Like all fiats around the world are in a free fall. And we call that inflation. But it's not really inflation, is it? Right? It's actually money that's getting deflated, it's getting worth less and less over time. And so we wanted to peg it to something that's more stable than Canadian dollars. So it's not a stable coin because stable coins are pegged to a fiat. Instead, I think the term that some people use is flat coin. Like the value is just flat. And how we can achieve that? Well, in Toronto, it turns out we have one thing that's really flat in value, and that is the TTC token, which has been around for about close to 100 years. So currently it's valued at $3.30, I think. If you tap your card, it's $3.30 to get on a TTC or a subway. Back then, the first token that was launched was not a token. It was a ticket, a paper ticket, and it sold for 6 cents or 7 cents, depending on which history you believe. And so from 6 to $3.30, 6 cents to $3.30, that's a massive inflation, but it's not really inflation, is it? Because the utility of that is still the same, right?
Didn't it expand almost, right? Because then the streetcars came in, the subway expanded.
Yeah,
across.
it expanded a little bit, but it's still take me from one place to another within the span of an hour. That was the utility then, and it's still the utility today. And it's not increased in value by thousands of percent from 6 cents to $3.30. Instead, what's happened is that the value of the dollar has decreased in value by thousands of percent. And that's what we're all living with, and we think that it's normal, and that's not how money should behave, right? So we can't peg it to that type of fiat money. We want to make better money. So T-coin is all about making better money. Which Bitcoin was originally, but turned out to be a better investment rather than a better money. So better money needs to expand with the supply of its people, and it needs to be flat in value. So we're going to peg it. We call it pegging. We say that it's worth the same as a TTC ticket, and it's always going to be worth that. So if Metrolinx decide to increase it from $3.30 to $3.50 tomorrow, then the T-coin, whatever T-coin you have in your wallet, will increase in value from $3.30 to $3.50, right? It'll be the same amount of T-coin in your wallet, but the value would increase. The other thing that's good about money is that it should circulate freely without fees. But unfortunately, every Visa transaction we do today carries a fee of 3%, and people don't really feel that or know that even think about it. But if you pay something in a store today for $100, the storekeep doesn't get $100. They get 97. Because that's been normalized, we're going to utilize that as an opportunity to also charge 3% because it's already baked into the price that we pay, and that's fine. But in our case, we're going to funnel that 3% not to Visa or MasterCard. We're going to funnel it to charity. And the interesting thing, what we can do with programmable money is we can actually know that you're the person that made the transaction. We can decide which charities to send it to based on your personal preferences. So when you sign up to T-coin, the first thing you do is say which is my preferred charity. And then every transaction henceforth, until you change it, 3% will be funneled away to that charity. So, that's going to be a much better money than anything else.
Yeah, it sounds.
If it gets adopted, I don't know, but it'll be a cool experiment. And it's not going to be the first. There used to be a Toronto dollar in Toronto not that long ago, around the turn of the century, like 1999 to 2001 type of thing. It was big in St. Lawrence Market and that area, sponsored by all the shops in St. Lawrence Market. They would all accept it. And they raised thousands of dollars in charity. They also had that kind of concern component. But it was not on blockchain, so it wasn't trustworthy. And someone actually ended up squandering away the treasury, and so it died. But with blockchain, you can't do that because it's immutable ledger that's open sourced. So everyone can see all the money that's moving.
So how do you handle the messaging of a T-coin if you was to talk to investors and to get people on board? Because there's no speculative element. There's less risk in that sense, right? But there's a whole different set of risks. So how does one communicate the value proposition, and to whom are we going to be communicating this value proposition?
Yeah, I don't think investors will be too thrilled about this because you can't really make money off of the money if you make it proper. That's also why a lot of the monies today, the stable coins, you got a lot of investors into the Tether project or the USDC project because they knew that if they could just manage this money, they would essentially be the central bank and they would be able to create yield on money, and they could take that for themselves. And we talked about good projects in Toronto. We didn't mention BreadChain, which is near and dear to your heart, which is an amazing project, which takes that problem, right, and turns it on the head and takes that. Okay, so you're a money operator. The yield and the surplus that's being generated should go back to the community, and that's what BreadChain does. We'll do that in Toronto Coin as well. We'll take the yield of whatever investment, whatever money is being put in the treasury, and we'll pay that out as dividend to the charities we talked about. So because we're doing it so well, there ain't really an investment opportunity. So I think who we need to talk to is maybe their governments. We need to get the City of Toronto on board. If they could say that, we think this is a good project, you can pay part of your taxes with Toronto Coin, that'd be amazing. And that already happens in Calgary as another example. Like people think, I talk about making new money and people think I'm crazy, but there are good examples. And Calgary dollar is definitely one. It circulates, people use it, and they can pay two types of government fees. One is that they can use any business that accepts it as a payment can use it to pay their business taxes with Calgary dollar. And the other one, interestingly enough, is you can buy transit tickets in Calgary with Calgary dollars. So those would be the two target areas for sure. Like if we get Metrolinx to accept T-Coin, if we could get City Hall to accept business taxes of some sort, or just a limited part of it with T-Coin, that'd be amazing. And then before we go after those big ones, the real challenge is going to be go after businesses that will accept it. If you're listening to this podcast and you're interested in accepting Toronto Coin as payment for whatever you're selling, services or goods or products, give me a call because that's what we need. That's definitely what we need.
Great. That was perfect because I think you put the value prop of this really well. And I think now people can see the need for something you mentioned earlier, which is proof of personhood, right? Because you've made the practicalities of this money that we can use, you've put that to the forefront. But now the big problem that so many people are trying to solve in a internet space that is increasingly being run by bots. Now bots have got to glow up with AI agents, where the same bots that we had back in the day can now take on a few more tasks, be a little bit more autonomous, attach a wallet to this bot. This bot can do stuff. So could you talk to me about Cubid that you're building and how this addresses this proof of personhood conundrum we find ourselves in right now? And it's a problem that's only going to get worse as these tools become more accessible. So what do we do? How do we nip this in the bud?
Yeah. So Cubid is my pet project. If Toronto is my pet project that I go back to on the weekends, Cubid is one that I always go back to between gigs, between consulting, between being a fractional CTO for other projects. That's my core project. Cubid's my core project, and it solves the proof of personhood. I used to call it a proof of personhood, but now I'm debating if I should call it maybe a bot proofing protocol. There is a time and a place for bots. Bots are going to be awesome, and they're going to be everywhere. Soon enough, there's going to be more bots than there are people. I'm absolutely convinced of that, right? And people are already giving bots money, as you said, and they make trading bots and say to the bot, go make me money and go spend money or whatever, right? The tipping protocol I just talked about before, Sacred, they're going to have a bot to tip people. So there's going to be bots everywhere, and bots are going to have money.
Someone argued that it's already more bots than people on places like Twitter, right?
Yep. Facebook, Twitter, more bots than people. So we need to recognize that they're there and they're good, but we also need to distinguish between bots and humans. Absolutely, we do, right? Because only humans should get UBI, for example, not bots. So Cubid does that, and it takes this multi-dimensional approach to it. So it's called Cubid for cubic identity or multi-dimensional identity. And what makes us human? It's almost like as big of a question as what is money. You can philosophize about that for hours.
Blade Runner is one of my favorite movies. Like, this is my favorite type of discussion.
Yeah. And it turns out that there are many things that make us human. So there are protocols that focus on biometrics, because only humans have eyes, for example. And then there's WorldCoin, which scans people's retinas. Fingerprints and handprints. There's a new one that I just saw in Denver that scans your hand, and it does a deep scan. So it actually scans the vein pattern of your inside of your hand. And it turns out that the vein pattern is just as unique as a fingerprint pattern, and harder to forge. So yeah, there's lots of protocols that do biometrics, and the most common one is we all know the bank apps that you have to sign or create an account. You have to scan your face, like a 3D scan of your face, a little 3-second video, and turn left, turn right, and whatever, and move the camera closer. That's a 3D scan of your face. Good Dollar uses that too. That's the only proof. But all of those are like single proof protocols. WorldCoin is a single proof protocol. They only scan for irises. So Bright ID is another one that checks for humanity, and they zone in on the fact that humans have friends. And if one human says in that Bright ID that this other human is also a human, you form connections, and humans have friendship connections and trust relationships. So that's an example of a trust graph.
Circles did something a little similar. Like, you create your account, but you can't use anything or get any payout until a person proves that you're a trusted contact. So that's
true. They add another one too, and that's trust in terms of money. So Bright ID is trust in terms of I say that I trust you. And there's a photo, and I trust that you're that person with that photo. Circles show trust with money in a way that, if I trust your money to the degree that I will accept your money as payment. And so they make a personal currency. When you talk about circles, you can talk about circles as one pool of money, but it really constituted by individual currencies. So when you sign up to circles, you make your own currency. And just the fact that I trust Marv circles and you trust Noak circles to accept it as payments, that's another form of trust between human beings. So that their trust is different from the Bright ID trust. So those things make people human. And there are other things that make people human. Like, for example, we can only be at one place in one time. IDNA protocol, they zone in on that and try and verify who's where when, and so you have to log in at a particular time on a particular day and solve a particular puzzle, and you can only be in one place in one time. So it's a very unique definition of humanity. Back to Cubid. So Cubid is a multi-dimensional, so it's like a meta identity on top of all of them. So the first thing you do when you log into Passport at Cubid is you say, hey, here's my Facebook account, and here's my GitHub account, and here's my Twitter account, and here's my IDNA account, and here's my Bright ID account. And it takes all of these credentials, essentially. We call them stamps. Just like you would stamp a passport, you add stamps to this passport by adding credentials. And if you say, you prove to me that, this Facebook account is yours, that carries a little bit of weight, but not much, because it's too easy to create a fake Facebook account. But if you tell me that this is your Bright ID account and you have 7 people that trust you inside of Bright ID, that carries a lot. So you get you might get 1 point for a Facebook account, and you can only have one. You might get 5 points for a Bright ID account. You might get 10 points or 20 points for a WorldCoin account, because that's way more secure. And then app developers could integrate with this, and they could say that, okay, I will trust people that have an average of 20, or they have, a total of 20 or a total of 15, and they can set a threshold. And if they want to change the weights, they can change the weights as well. And they say, I don't like the default weights. I trust WorldCoin more, so I want to give more of that, or I don't ever want to give a point for a Facebook account, so they can change that. So that's all in the background, right? So app developers can verify their users, and they can only do it in I call it app scoped way. So the Marv in game A is different from, with Cubid, is different from Marv in social network B. So the game can never see that Marv is also on the social network, and the social network can never see that you're a user in the game. So we're protecting our privacy. We're very strong on protecting privacy. And also, the game might see different credentials than the social network is, because you might allow the game to see all of your credentials, but the social network only to see half of them. So technically speaking, it's very complex. But from a user perspective, all you see is that, okay, a website's going to have a button that says verify with Cubid. I'm already verified, so I just click it and I approve. This website can see my credential. They'll see that I have a score of 15, and therefore I'm allowed to vote. But someone else has a score of 7, so they're not allowed to vote.
Like you've addressed a really big bit of inhibition I have with signing in with Google, for example, right? Because then Google can see everything I've used to sign in on, and just draw from everything. But you created silos of usage. And I think in Web3, that's increasingly important. Like, this is what we want out of Web3, right?
Yeah.
To separate our identity from the services that we use, in a sense, so that so we're not the product anymore.
Right. And that's also why when I build stuff, it takes a little bit longer. Like, other protocols are faster to market, but they do a shittier job. I try and really solve it fundamentally, right? So I want it to be app scoped so that every app sees different things. I want the user to be in control. You decide what you want to share. And you can share fractionally too. You can share the fact that you're over 18 without showing your birth date. Like, so if usually in websites that require you to be over 18 today, you have to scan your entire driver's license or your entire passport, and they get to see everything. They get to see where I live and what my photo's like and whatever, right? All they need to know is the fact that I'm over 18, right? So we allow sites to ask very narrow questions. Are you over 18 or are you over 21? Yes or no. Like, so you get a yes or no answer back, but it's a trusted yes or no, right? The other thing is location. Like, I want to know that you live in a city, in Toronto, for example, right? But the app shouldn't know exactly what your address is. Mm-hmm. That's too invasive, right? All they need to know is that you're within some radius of Toronto's city center, right? So we have a radius that you can say, I want my users to be within 10 kilometers or within 50 miles or whatever. And we can say yes or no to that.
Okay. So this information, let's say like how you need to submit your driver's license to prove your age, so we still end up putting this information in the system, or have we found a way around that?
No, you put it into the Cubid system, but only you see it. You tell which app can see what information. So if an app asks for all of your information and you decide that, I want to show them all the information, you can. But we try and encourage developers to not ask for everything. In our documentation and in our calls, we talk to developers and say that, try and ask for as little as possible, and users get to approve it. Kind of like when you sign in with Google, Google tells you that this app will see everything, and here is what they will see. but we make that optional. Like there's a checkbox, and you can check or uncheck them. So you can say that, hey, it's okay that they see my age, but I'm not going to show them my birthday.
Yeah, that explains quite a lot actually. So how are you implementing this so far? Like, would someone download like a Cubid SDK to put into their app kind of to handle sign-ins and verification, or would it be like a standalone thing that you need to have on your phone?
End user is different from users. So my target users are developers for Cubid, right? So they would have to buy into the concept, and then they would use my SDK. So the SDK is a software development kit, which it makes it easier for them to integrate Cubid into their app. And essentially, if they just want to go with the basic settings, it's a few lines of code. So it's very easy. And then we have APIs. So the SDK is a simplification of the APIs. But if you wanted to get real granular, you can, as a developer, you can call the various APIs and get whatever information you need and tell Cubid what you need as well. So it's a developer toolkit in that sense. But the end users wouldn't see that. They would just see a little button on a website that says allow or don't allow. It's kind of like a sign in with Google. This will be like a sign in with. Actually, we have been thinking about developing a sign in with Cubid as well. But there are other challenges with that adoption. If you have like 1 million users, you can start building sign in with. But it's kind of like a sign in with Cubid.
So where are we in the development right now? How much of it's ready? How much of it's in use?
It's I have a product in the market that works. I've got less than 10, but close to 10 pilot customers, if you will. I don't know if customer is the right term because it's all for free. So yeah, it's live, it's working. Still looking for people to test it out. There's tons of room for improvement. But if you're a developer and you want to use it, feel free, go ahead. The instructions are in the documentation on the website. Just go and try and use it, build it in. And then tell us what you need, what kind of changes you want, because we're working on it.
Great. And what's your roadmap looking like? Like, what kind of development do you expect to be putting in place over the next year, for example?
So I want more simpler SDKs. So I want to have create an app with a button, a click of a button. Right? It's not going to be that. It'll be in the CLI, but write a command line, and then you have a Cubid app that you can start working on and customizing to do whatever you want. Right now we're only on web, so we're doing web apps. I want to have a native app, which is like on a mobile as well, so you can download it from the App Store. We've got other features I want to add. So right now we have about 10, between 10 and 15 different stamps, and I want to add more stamps. So, and a stamp being a credential. So right now you can sign in with Twitter and you can sign in with Farcaster, but you can't sign in with Lens maybe. So I want to add Lens protocol, and there are so many different other ways of credentializing yourself that I want to do.
Really?
Now there's tons on the roadmap, tons.
Nice. And how many people are building this? Like, how big is your team? And would you be open to more people joining your team? Because you can always add some form for people to.
Absolutely. So that's my biggest challenge right now. Going back to what we talked about before, finding funding. So I think that I need to start reaching out to investors. And so if anyone listening to this have money, I'll sell you some equity for this project, because I want it to stay alive. We do have monetization as well. So as soon as an app goes over like a certain number of thousands of users, we'll start charging for it. But it's always going to be free for small apps. So need investors, need developers. But right now it's a really small team, and I can't expand because I don't have money. Right, I'm completely bootstrapped in this project right now, which means I'm just paying for everything myself.
I see you're very active in the grants space as well. So is there anything that you're looking forward to in terms of upcoming grants that you think you vibe with
In the grant space, like any developer that wants to build on it would be awesome. If specifically, like if you have a need for personhood, but it doesn't have to be a need for personhood. Like, it'll be any app that just wants to verify your users. But if you're building something in the space of like voting and polling, you need to make sure that people just vote once, right? So that would be great to have a voting app come in and use us. Or a UBI app. That would be amazing. Yeah, if anyone has a UBI project and you want to build that and use Cubid. So we just got approved on Monday. I don't know when people listen to this, but April 2nd, we got approved into Gitcoin. So we're currently part of the Gitcoin funding round. It's new to me, but it's round 23 for Gitcoin. So Gitcoin 23 we're part of. So go on to gitcoin.co, and find Cubid, look for Cubid, Cubid, and give some money. If you give just $1, like preferably you give more than that, but if you just give $1, that's important enough, because that, going back to the quadratic funding, like they get matched. So the more people give, the better.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's $200,000 I think in the round that we're participating in. So you give me $1 and I get maybe, I don't know how much they match, but they match 5 or 10x.
Yeah, like the maths are really complicated, but
Yeah.
I think they've really done that, incentivizing wider participation, whale-proofing participation effectively really well.
Yeah, we can talk about the complicated math, but the long and the short of it is we don't know until the round is completed how much matching there is. We know that there's $200,000 there that needs to be matched to other contribution, but I don't know how much I'm going to get, because it depends on how many participate.
Sweet, fantastic. So thanks so much for visiting the studio, Kaz. This has been like an amazing, enlightening conversation. Like, I like how you went to like the foundation of the ideas and you built them up. I think this will be a really helpful episode for people who are not necessarily completely immersed in the crypto space. So you've helped, hopefully, a lot of newbies navigate this space with more knowledge. Where do you like nurturing your community the most online?
Yeah, I'm on sort of many different places. Find me on LinkedIn. Reach out to me there. If you're a normie, if you're not into crypto, or find me on Greenpill, greenpill.to. It's where my community is. And there's a Telegram chat there. There's a Twitter link there to the Greenpill itself. And if you reach out on Telegram to the Greenpill community, then I'll be there and answer. You can also send a direct message on Telegram if you want to, but we'll put those links in the show.
All the links will be in the description of the episode, and also in any when the accompanying blog comes out as well. You'll find all of Kaz's links over there. And yeah, any further events to look forward to, anything with Toronto DAO, anything with the other meetups that we have going on that you would like to plug or draw attention to, the mic's yours.
Yeah, so Toronto DAO keeps doing events. The next one's going to be an AI focused event. I'm looking forward to that. Greenpill meetup, join us on a Monday call at 11 o'clock, because in Sweden we drink coffee at 11 o'clock, and so that's what was the origin of that call. That's a great way to start your week, to just learn a little bit about what's going on in crypto for good, or join us for drinks at in the beaches way out east on Wednesday nights. But I think the last point is that it's a decentralized society in crypto and blockchain. You can go in and do whatever you want. There's no one that's going to stop you. We need people to join and to get involved. And I need people that can help out. Reach out if you want to help out. Or just start your own project. The more projects I build, the better.
We have everything left to build, folks.
Yeah,
so just bring those ideas, bring the enthusiasm. Let's do some awesome things.
Come help us. Come help us build.
Amazing. And on that note, and it's a sunny day today, huh? It's a nice day. So finally I can change my outro to like embrace some good weather. So
I was in shorts yesterday. And 2 days ago I was in a winter storm. We all were in a winter storm. It was amazing. But I was in shorts yesterday.
So yes, from sunny Toronto, finally, This is Marvyn Noak signing off in Toronto. You take care, and we catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for joining in. If you found Noak's insights valuable, please share this with your friends who might be interested in Web3's evolution. All of Noak's links are in the description for you to explore further. Developers and tech enthusiasts, this is your call to action. If anything Noak mentioned today sparked your interest or aligned with your skills, reach out to him directly. He's actively building these solutions and looking for collaborators. Your engagement really helps this podcast grow. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please take a moment to rate the episode. It significantly boosts our visibility in the algorithm. YouTube viewers, drop your questions or thoughts in the comments. The most insightful ones will be addressed in future episodes. And for our Web3 native listeners, you can actually mint this episode right in your wallet by following the pod's link in the description. There's plenty more. It's just the new internet to discover, so enjoy digging through our back catalog. Take care and see you on the next one. Bye-bye.